Across the vast, pale blue expanse of the subarctic tundra, Avik, a seasoned male caribou with heavy antlers and a scarred flank, trudged steadily through knee-deep powder. The air was bitterly cold, dry, metallic, the kind that normally promised snowfall. But today, the sky betrayed him. Thick gray clouds hung low, swollen, heavy, pregnant with moisture. They should have been releasing flurries, sheets, waves of snow. The tundra should have been dancing with drifting flakes, obscuring the horizon in a white curtain. Yet nothing fell. Not a single snowflake. Avik paused, lifting his head. His breath emerged as a dense plume, rising too slowly, as if resisting the air. Every instinct told him snow should be tumbling down, collecting on his fur, weighing on his antlers. But the heavens remained sealed, eerily still. On a nearby ridge, Dr. Soren Halvard, a climatologist, adjusted his satellite-linked weather tablet. His assistant, Kayla, stood beside him, squinting into the colorless sky. "Soren," she murmured, "the radar shows heavy precipitation overhead." "Yes. But look." She gestured at the unmoving horizon. "Nothing is falling." Soren frowned. "There's zero downward velocity in the snow layer. It's just suspended." Avik snorted, stamping his hooves into the crust. The tremor echoed strangely, too sharply, as though the air itself were brittle. He looked up again. The clouds churned. Swirled. Pressed low. But held. A wrongness settled over the tundra, a stillness that did not belong to this land of constant shifting storms. Avik moved forward, uneasy. The sky was holding something back. And the tundra felt incomplete without it. By afternoon, the temperature dropped sharply. Frost began clinging to Avik's muzzle. Normally, the afternoon brought katabatic winds rushing down from the distant mountains, tugging at caribou fur and shaping snowdrifts into long serpent-like patterns. But today, the air did not move at all. Avik's ears twitched nervously. No wind brushed them. No crackle of ice-laden gust tore across the plains. Even his herd's scent did not travel properly, odors stayed close, trapped. He tested the air again. Still nothing. Nearby, Soren and Kayla performed a simple test. They released ultralight snow markers, tiny particles meant to trace wind currents. The flakes floated upward weakly. Then froze midair. Kayla's voice trembled. "Soren. They're stuck." "They're not stuck," he whispered, "they are suspended. As if the atmospheric column isn't allowing vertical motion. Like gravity isn't being applied evenly. Or," he said, swallowing hard, "something is countering it." Avik stepped toward a shallow drift, expecting loose powder. Instead, the snow layer felt unnaturally rigid, preserving delicate patterns that should have been erased by breeze or flurries. He lowered his muzzle and exhaled deeply onto the snow. Normally, warm breath would collapse the surface crystals. This time, nothing changed. The frost remained intact, unmelted, unbothered. Avik jerked his head back. Soren saw it too. "Kayla. The heat transfer is being resisted." "In air? In snow? Why both?" "Because the system is frozen," he whispered. "Not temperature frozen. Mechanically frozen." Above them, the heavy snow clouds pulsed once, a subtle internal shudder, as though something inside them was trying to fall. And failing. The next morning brought a dim, muted sunrise. Light filtered through thick clouds with no shimmer, no sparkle, only a dull, directionless glow. Avik, pushing westward, suddenly halted. He saw them. Snowflakes. Forming in the air. Not falling, forming. Tiny crystalline structures materialized out of the moisture, perfectly shaped hexagons, suspended at varying heights. They hung like frozen dust motes in a still pond. Avik approached them cautiously. He reached out his muzzle, touched one with his warm nose. It didn't melt. It didn't move. It didn't fall. It simply adhered to his fur like a bead of glass. Avik shook his head. The flake remained. "What in the world?" Kayla whispered when she saw the same phenomenon. Soren lifted a sample tray toward the suspended crystals. "These flakes are forming normally," he said slowly. "Perfect ice structures. But they're resisting all motion, gravitational and thermal." Kayla reached out and brushed a flake with her glove. It slid sideways, perfectly straight, then froze midair again. No flutter. No spin. No drift. Snowflakes can't do that, she whispered. Soren exhaled shakily. Unless something is stabilizing them. Or buffering them from atmospheric dynamics. Avik snorted, trying to push through the field of suspended flakes. Each flake resisted displacement like a bead on an invisible string. The air felt thick. The space felt compressed. The tundra was no longer behaving like open land. It felt like a sealed room. Avik pushed through, heart pounding. The flakes parted unwillingly. As if reluctant to move. That night, the temperature plummeted further. The distant aurora shimmered faintly, but even the shifting lights seemed to move less freely, as though dragged through molasses. Avik approached a frozen stream. Normally, ice moaned and cracked under stress from the flowing water beneath. But the ice tonight was silent, too silent. He stepped onto it. The ice did not creak. It did not flex. It felt preserved. Fixed in place. Kayla and Soren reached the same stream bank minutes later. Kayla kneeled and touched the ice. No sublimation, she murmured. It's not releasing vapor at all. Soren checked his gauges. Humidity is dropping while precipitation stays constant. Snow is forming inside the clouds but not entering the ground cycle. Like the sky is refusing to complete the weather loop. Avik paced along the ice, ears flicking. The air pressure felt strange, as though something above were holding the entire atmosphere taut. He looked up. The clouds bulged downward in unnatural domes, as if something inside them was pressing outward. Snowflakes formed continuously, millions of them. But still nothing fell. Then Avik felt it. A tremor through the snowpack. Subtle. Shallow. Rhythmic. Short. Pause. Short. Long. A pulse. Kayla felt it too. Soren. Is that seismic? No tectonic activity here, he whispered. That's too localized. A second tremor followed, stronger, and every suspended snowflake oscillated in place, vibrating like tiny glass bells with no sound. Avik bolted backward. The snowflakes froze again. And the tremor stopped abruptly. Kayla hugged her coat, shivering. Something under us is interacting with the atmosphere. Soren nodded slowly. Trying to complete the cycle of snowfall. But can't. Avik's breath clouded in front of him, unmoving for too long before drifting away belatedly. The tundra was holding its breath. And whatever was beneath the snow was waiting for something. By the next morning, the horizon darkened. Avik sensed danger, not predator danger, but environmental wrongness. He pawed at the frozen crust anxiously. Above him, the clouds convulsed. A visible shudder rippled through them, like muscle spasming beneath skin. Kayla shouted, Soren, something's happening. It's trying again, he said. The cycle is forcing itself through the blockage. Before he finished, the first snowflake fell. Avik lifted his head. Only one. It drifted down slowly, far too slowly. More flakes followed. Dozens. Hundreds. Then they stopped mid-flight. Frozen in place, scattered unevenly between cloud and tundra, forming a suspended veil. Avik backed away. Kayla whispered, It's a mid-air snowfall. Soren raised his tablet, readings spiraled. Gravity is functioning. Air density is normal. But downward motion is. A deep vibration cut through the tundra. Avik felt it through bone. The suspended flakes shivered. The clouds pulsed. Then, all the snow fell at once. A roaring white curtain slammed downward like a collapsing ceiling. Flakes that had been suspended for hours, maybe days, plunged in a single synchronized wave. Avik staggered under the impact. Kayla screamed. Soren shielded his head. The tundra disappeared under a white avalanche of sky that had waited too long to fall. Then, silence. Soft. Total. Unbroken. Soren whispered, Kayla. Are you okay? Why yeah. She rose shakily. What was that? Soren looked at the sky, now empty, relieved, as though the atmosphere exhaled. It was a release, he said. A buildup of suspended precipitation. triggered by something beneath us losing control. Avik shook the snow from his fur and stared at the ground. Beneath the surface, he felt one last faint tremor. A retreating one. The thing that had held the snow did not disappear. It simply stopped trying. For now. The storm's massive release should have calmed the tundra. After such a collapse of suspended snow, the system normally resets, winds resume, pressure normalizes, and flakes fall freely. But this tundra did not behave normally. Avik trudged through drifts now far deeper than before, chest high in places. Yet the snow felt strangely light. Not soft, light. As though the weight distribution was inconsistent. He took a step. His hoof sank into a deep pocket. Another step. His hoof barely broke the crust. No pattern. No consistency. No logic. Avik shook his antlers uneasily. On a nearby rise, Soren and Kayla dug themselves out of the sudden snow sheet. Their faces were pale, breath steaming violently. Kayla looked at the sky. Soren. The clouds. Soren followed her gaze. The clouds were moving sideways. Not drifting. Not pushed by wind. Gliding, like enormous sheets of gray sliding across glass. In the snow that should have fallen from them. It wasn't falling. It wasn't rising. It was moving with them, suspended flakes drifting horizontally in perfect synchrony with the cloud mass. Kayla whispered, "Are we inside a sideways snowfall?" Soren swallowed. Airflow doesn't support horizontal precipitation. Nothing does. Avik watched a cluster of suspended flakes slide past him, a ribbon of crystals drifting sideways as though the whole world leaned at a slant. He stepped into the sideways moving field. The flakes brushed his fur and froze in place, sticking unnaturally like beads glued to him. Not melting. Not falling off. Just hanging. Kayla tested a cluster by tossing a small rock through it. The rock punched a tiny tunnel, and the walls of suspended flakes folded inward, slowly erasing the passage as though nothing had passed. "Soren," she said, voice trembling, "space is behaving wrong." He nodded slowly. The atmosphere isn't just resisting vertical motion. It's manipulating directional fields. Avik lifted his muzzle and sniffed aggressively. He sensed something else. The ground beneath the snowpack was shifting. Not tectonic movement. Not vibration. Alignment. The tremors he felt now moved in diagonal lines, matching the direction of the sideways drifting snow. The ground was synchronizing with the sky. A long rolling pulse moved through the tundra, causing flakes to change direction midair in a smooth wave. Kayla stumbled. "It's coordinating. The sky and the snow. And the earth." Soren looked deeply unsettled. Something is communicating across strata, atmospheric, terrestrial, cryospheric. Avik bristled. His instincts screamed the truth. Whatever had failed to make the snow fall was now trying something new. Rewriting how the world moved. By late afternoon, the sideways snowfall grew more structured. What first appeared random now formed bands, horizontal layers of suspended flakes, each moving at different speeds like conveyor belts in the sky. Avik watched the layers rotate around a distant ridge, forming a slow, circular pattern. The snow bands traced a spiral, a massive, deliberate motion that no wind could create. Kayla stared in awe. "Soren. It's forming a vortex." "A horizontal vortex," Soren whispered. "Impossible." The spiral glowed faintly as scattered sunlight refracted through millions of suspended crystals. It resembled a luminous halo hovering just above the tundra. Avik stepped closer, drawn by instinct, or something deeper. As he approached the edge of the spiral, the ground beneath him pulsed. Short. Long. Long. Pause. Short, short. He froze. He had felt this pattern before, deep under the snow, through the frozen streams, in the silent storm. It was the same signature. Kayla gasped. "Soren, the seismic sensor is picking up that rhythm again." Soren checked his instruments. "It's stronger. Much stronger." The ground pulses synchronized with the moving snow bands. Each thrum of the earth caused a ring of suspended flakes to brighten slightly, as though the snow responded to the underground message. Avik felt the rhythm deep in his chest. The tundra was resonating. Then the spiral shifted. The rings tightened. The bands aligned. The glow intensified. Kayla whispered, "It's communicating upward." Soren's eyes widened. "Kayla, the snow is acting like a medium. A display. It's amplifying the signal." The spiral of snow contracted into a focus beam, not of light, but of motion. The suspended flakes oscillated in a tight column rising into the clouds. A column that looked like a transmission. A reply. A request. Avik stepped backward, heart hammering. The tundra pulsed again, stronger than ever. The column of oscillating snow shot upward into the clouds with mechanical precision. The clouds responded instantly. They shuddered. Ripples spread through them. Then they began descending. Slowly. Uniformly. Deliberately. Kayla grabbed Soren's arm. "They're lowering." "No," he whispered. "They're answering." The clouds pressed lower, as if bowing toward the tundra. The snow bands reoriented themselves vertically again, not falling, but aligning like magnetic filings around a field. Avik backed away as the column brightened, flakes spinning faster. The tundra and the sky were no longer separate. They were interacting. Responding. Learning. And whatever had tried, and failed, to make the snow fall earlier, had finally found a way to speak. Avik stared at the towering column connecting earth and cloud, glowing with the pale light of frozen crystals. He didn't understand the message. But he understood one thing. This was not the end of the anomaly. It was the beginning of a conversation.